being here this evening. I'd like to open this meeting by the salute to the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mrs. Dawson.
Mayor Report.
Here.
Trustee Short.
Here.
Trustee McCauley.
Here.
Trustee Young.
Here.
Trustee Champlain has been excused. Superintendent Sullivan.
Here.
I believe everyone has minutes of our previous meeting. Is there any questions on these or corrections? If there's not, could I get a motion to have them accepted?
So move. Move we approve.
Second.
Motion by Young, seconded by Short. Thank you. Pardon?
Need a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I got way too many things on to go this evening. I'd like you to open it up to the public. I see we have Mr. Latrimore here this evening. If Chris doesn't mind, we usually let the fire department go first. That's usually our policy because that's their work night and whatever.
They can
So
go
we don't
for
mind.
it.
Good evening.
Good evening. The only thing we have is see if I could get those 4 radios I put in approved
I think everybody has
on
a
purchase.
on this purchase right. The chief had spoke to me in length on these radios, and as I've always iterated in the past, if we don't have communications, we don't know what the right hand and left hand are doing. He also stated to me that the radios that they were getting were a lot more expensive, but the dealer said they could have these 4 radios for this cost. So what's happening is in their equipment budget, they need to transfer some from their contractual into their equipment to pay this. They still have the money. You just have to, if we approve this requisition, have the money transferred to another account. Is there any questions on the purchase of these radios?
Move that we approve.
Motion made by trustee Short,
My second.
second trustee McCauley. We get a vote on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So in this here, we'll be transferring from point 4 to point 2.
Transfer the $840 from point 4 to point 2.
Right,
So the motion was to approve it plus make the transfer.
right. And by the way, these radios were set up for, were bought for the fire police. As a lot of people, if you've been in emergency services or if you ever come on a scene, a lot of times one person can't see the other person because of obstacles and everything, so when they can talk to each other, they know if there's traffic coming, or they can tell them, they can radio down, yes, you need to let this vehicle through, no you don't. It just makes everything a lot easier, and it safeguards everybody around the emergency scene. So men, you can get your radios.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the approval. That's all we have. Let's push that up. No,
have
that's
any
all we have.
questions?
Just that.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
And from what I hear, you guys are doing a good job, so keep up the good work.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you now.
See you guys later.
They were awful short.
We got what we wanted.
That's what I was gonna
That's usually the case. No, they usually know pretty much what's going on, but they like to come and check and see what's going on before. Because tonight is their siren test and their workout night as well.
Nothing wrong with that.
Me being a fire chief before, I know what it's all about.
They've got to do their thing.
Yes, they do. And the community should be grateful that they have them.
Yep.
So, what can you do for us this evening?
Well, just up here, both to bring my lovely face back up and put it in front of the board to see if there were any general questions overall, and to go over a few concerns that your capable staff. I've really got to salute the people here in the office, Janice and Joanne and Bob. I don't call you one of the ladies, but Bob here in the office. They do a very nice job for the village, and it's been nothing but a pleasure over the past 14 months now working with them and getting to know them a little bit better. And just wanted to make the village aware that you've got a good group of people here running your day-to-day operations, which sometimes always doesn't get expressed, but I wanted to let everybody know that.
Well, thank you very much. I think that as the board, I can only speak for myself, but I agree with every word that you've just said.
Good folks.
Believe me, because they are more than helpful
Yep.
to myself, and I believe to everybody that sits here.
Well, and that's what brings me to the meeting tonight was we had a little review session of some of the coverages that were in place, and it's always good to do a year afterwards to go over what's there, what maybe I didn't see that I would recommend to the village, and that's why I came tonight. There were a few things. Basically, the village has excellent program in place. The help of your consultant last year, Lita did a wonderful job, and just a few things that I'd like to put to the program that I think would be dollars well spent on the village's behalf. Some of the obvious changes is this year we've got the new vehicle on for the full year, the 2000 that was purchased January of last year that I'll throw a little plug in there. Actually, the village paid no insurance for the year 2000 because of the contract we put in place. Any changes that are done during the policy year are done at no charge when it's a vehicle. So the 2000 was actually a freebie. There was no charge for the 2000 in the year 2000. This will be the first time this year's contract. The same will hold true with the 2001 that's just being bid on now. When that comes through, there won't be any changes there as well. But in going through some of the coverages, one of the obvious add-ons we have to put was the new building behind the sewer plant, the little chemical. Was it the clear?
It's the phosphorus reduction.
It's not a big deal. It's a $20,000 piece of property. You're talking an additional cost of well under $100 a year, somewhere in the neighborhood of $80 a year to put that building on the schedule. That does it just bumps up the actual value. You got a blanket policy in the building and contents. Just got to make sure I put it there because of a co-insurance clause to keep your coverage limits up to where they need to be. So we're already taking care of that change. Some of the other changes that we thought were important to come here were some things that I saw missing from the village's insurance policy that a lot of other municipalities carry. One coverage in particular is some inland marine coverage for contractors' equipment, blanket contractors' equipment coverage. Right now we have a scheduled list of items. It's not a long list, but it does adequate justice for what the village has. In rounding that off, you have a lot of little stuff. The hand tools, the chainsaws, the push lawnmowers, everything that you would take outside the shop. That right now are technically not scheduled anywhere. So my recommendation to the board would be to let me schedule what they call blanket contractors equipment coverage. I would recommend a limit of $50,000 in coverage. Blanket coverage is everywhere, all your premises, on trucks, for everything. Fire, theft, vandalism, it falls off the truck and breaks, it's covered as well. And it would cost the village a total of $150 additional premium a year.
Is that full replacement value?
It's whatever the value of it is at the time. It's actually an actual cash value policy when you do that schedule. You don't get as good a coverage as we're getting right now, like when we put there's a Cub Cadet lawnmower, I believe you have, that schedules a certain value. That's at a stated value. This gives you a lot more than you currently have, which is zero. So that's one item of the marine. This is all in the marine section. I'll run through them all, and then maybe we can talk about them. Another one of the items that Janice and Joanne brought to my attention were the Christmas items. All your Christmas decorations that you currently have, that you decorate the village with, have a value, or we came with a total value around $7,000 in current valuation on those goods. Again, when they're out there in the open, there was a situation in the past where there was actually a claim after the ice storm, and then the village had to go through the task of putting together a schedule of items, which, you forget something that you purchased, $700 value, just forget to add it. So I would suggest, again, doing a blanket amount of coverage of $10,000. That gives us a little bit of playroom there to cover Christmas items, and it's basically all the Christmas decorations for a total cost of $30 a year to schedule those on there. And there's no list that has to come from the village office. There's no phone call unless we get the value up over 10,000, which we think will probably take a few years to do anyway. So we have a little bit of room there. And then two other items that kind of go together were some wastewater pumps that we have, a couple different sizes. We had about eight of them with $6,000 in value, and we had two with about $16,000 in value. That would mean I take the 8 pumps, that's a $48,000 total cost to the village for $144 a year, and I take the other 2 pumps with $16,000, $32,000 in total value, and add an additional $96 to the premium a year. All in all, with all the changes, we're adding about $140,000 in equipment coverage. I'm lumping it all in that schedule for a total annual premium of $420 a year. Other than that, we saw everything else looked to be covered pretty well. Those were just some of the things that jumped out at us when we were sitting down and going over it, and wanted to make sure before there was ever the possibility of having a claim out there and somebody saying that wasn't covered, to at least bring it to the village's attention.
What was the coverage on the pumps? I mean, what would that cover?
Basically just about everything you could imagine. It's an inland marine policy form, so I can't buy any broader coverage. It's fire, lightning, windstorm, hail, including flood. In the inland marine forms, they include flood. So I don't know if a pump could be damaged by.
Oh, yes.
So it would include the flood.
We've had lots of trouble with pumps. I don't know whether it's grit. Cause always seems to change, it seems to me. But
Well, we resolved that particular pretty much so.
Now, if it was an operational breakdown of the piece of equipment, that wouldn't be considered an insurance loss. That if it's an inherent vice of the piece of equipment, then the insurance company would use an inherent vice exclusion and say we can't cover that. It's an inherent vice of for grit to build up and burn your engine up, we aren't going to cover that. But if it was caused because of, say, the ice did something and that caused the engine to fry, then it would be.
So, okay, say I got a locked rotor due to a rag or a block of wood or something
That's covered.
solid.
That would
cover that.
That would cover that.
That's
So what would you say of the problems with the pumps that we've had for the last 5 or 10 years would be covered by this?
getting a locked rotor. The problems that we used to have with grit have been pretty much taken care of by some maintenance, doing some maintenance on the structures themselves and removing the grit before it becomes a problem. But something like a chunk of rag or something that happened to suck up in there just as the pump shut off, now it locks the rotor and it can't turn, and this thing's going to keep trying to turn until it wants to burn itself up. And that kind of is what I'm...
Would it be right to say most of the problems we've had, though, have been operational that would not be covered by this?
That's correct. Well, we've had some flood ones. The water got right
Once
over
you get
there.
once you get the berm done, you don't have to worry about flood. Thing of the past.
There's a lot of ifs in this whole solution. But I know that for our phosphorus building, I know that we're gonna need the coverage for that. You know, and if we've had nothing for our small engine or our small, because there again,
I'll tell you, Pete, the biggest thing you have there is if there's a big claim in any one of your pieces, any one of your properties anywhere. If there's a fire in one of the buildings, that's when you're gonna notice that contractor's equipment. You know, the one item falling off the truck or, you know,
Right.
the chainsaw, it's just that catastrophic type of event that's what I said. Matter of fact, I think my exact words to Bob were, what happens if the building burns? He goes, well, then we lose everything.
right,
And that's when the village is going to look at it and say, geez, I wish I would have had that. And on the same side, I wouldn't want to go around and try to put 50,000 in each building. So if you do it on a blanket limit where it's covered anywhere for the village at that level, then at least you know you got some protection.
because there are some things that we store, like even the Bobcats inside. I mean, there are things that are actually being,
Yeah, you do. There are items the village takes. You know, it's all a gamble.
oh my, definitely.
You're exactly right when you talk a Bobcat. Anything that's got any type of significant use and value, if Bob's department's going to miss it immediately, you know it's got to be replaced. You know, relatively quickly. So.
You want to think about losing that.
That's what I'm saying. But my thing is, you've been here with Bob and Janice and Joanne. These are things that were brought up out of the conversation.
Yes.
So you're initially saying that's going to be probably a, let me see, 400 and
420. It's going to be a hair less than that because that's the actual total annualized cost, and we're already almost a month and a half into your current term, so you're going to be, you know, little under $400 for the balance of the calendar year.
I think I want to ask the board to, it all comes down to, do we want to protect what we have?
I think we should.
I mean, you know, I think we're getting to the point, well, to me, I can't see where we can't. Well, I think what probably we'd need, but I don't have a problem with it, because even with the building and everything, you know, I'm starting to say to myself, well, I think probably we're gonna need a motion to purchase this additional insurance. Would anybody like to make that motion?
I have no problem making a motion.
Would there be a second to it?
I'll second.
I don't like being uninsured.
Well, I think that's, yeah, that's,
It's always, it's
This
always
is all
better.
for all of the insurance as stated on there, the whole.
right, for everything that he's spoken, phosphorus building, you know, our lawnmowers and our stuff, our Christmas decoration, our water pumps, and,
The phosphorus
That's
building,
additional to the
right? The
regular
phosphorus
repair.
building's in addition to that, but that's like $80 for the year. With that phosphorus building included in, you're about $500 for the total change. It was 420 for all the
That would be
marine.
far more than what it costs to. Yeah.
so, okay then, so we're looking for a total cost of around $500 more a year. That's include our phosphorus building besides of all the rest of this stuff.
Yes.
So now that we know actually what it is, do you still want to make your motion?
Make that motion.
Your second?
I'm gonna second this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the motion is carried.
Thank you.
No, I want to thank you and the staff for bringing that to our attention.
That's,
Because I think there's things in the past that
It's been claimed.
have been gone unnoticed, and then when it does happen, well, I thought we had. The thought we had doesn't help us. And that's why I said, I'm glad that you went with the staff, and the staff, I mean, you know, they're here.
yep, they do a good job for the village. Now, there's one other thing I'll bring tonight, just your attention. I don't have any of the information with me here, and I didn't even get into this with Bob the other day. It was about the use of subcontractors in the village for anything. The only thing I'm really aware of is the Rouse's Point use of the village police from Rouse's Point.
Right.
and this is more along lines for contractors. I don't know if you get any contractors that do any subbing
On occasion.
Okay. There's a lot of, the big problem area right now in New York is contractors and wording of contracts with contractors for indemnity agreements. Everybody gets certificates of insurance. Well, now the attorneys are using the certificates of insurance and lack of indemnity agreements to come back against everybody involved in case of an employee or somebody at the job site getting injured. So the insurance companies have been spending a lot of resources on developing some indemnity clauses where the subs would hold the village harmless or do some indemnification back to the village to try to lessen liabilities that you might have. It's all relatively green still. It's all been out there for about the last 6 months, 7 months, and companies are trying to work bugs out of it. I will get some wording to the village, but it's going to be important for that to be inserted into contracts. So you at least, I'm not going to say it's going to protect you 100-fold. I don't think there's anything that can do that.
No.
But it'll help you a great deal in case of that situation. And they're popping up, lawsuits are popping up every day from these type of situations, and you want to extend yourself as far away from it as you can.
Would this cover something like dog control or animal control?
From which side, maybe a little explanation as what you
Contracted officer.
Right, we contract off with another person for animal control within the municipality. I think the town and Rouse's Point and Village of Champlain.
they're all together contracting with one
Well, I
person.
think we each have separate contracts. I think it's with the same individual.
Yeah, then we'd probably want to do some cross indemnification so that they can't hold us responsible in the town of Champlain or the village of Rouse's Point for something he might do or she might do. You want to each have your own separate liabilities.
So anything like that, like
Yeah.
with our police coverage and this.
Yep.
How about we've hired somebody to take care of tree trimming?
Oh, that's
If we hire anyone to do something like that?
that would be wonderful. I mean, with that tree trimmer, that is probably the greatest. Anytime you're dealing with heights, there's a law out there that says that somebody's tree trimmer, unless he's on a ladder, usually I would say they're on in the bucket truck. I'd have to read the law there. If anybody's on a ladder, step stool, it becomes a height, and all the liability reverts back to property owner in this state. So if you get a contractor in here and his job was to just do the ceiling over, and he's standing on the chair and he falls off the chair, the liability can find its way right back to the village.
So if we had somebody replacing windows upstairs.
Same thing. Yeah. That it's getting to be very, everybody thought it was as scary as it could be out there, and now we're finding it's a whole different animal. Nobody's ever gone here before.
Right.
And that's why what I would do is get the indemnity agreement. I would pass it through the village attorney first. Then I'd bring it back to the board and say, this is approved wording. Your council has no problem with wording. And then I would use it as implementable to the office here, saying this is going to be, you're going to have a standard contract. This wording is going to be in there. It's an indemnification contract. The certificate of insurance will be there with it. And now we've done about as much as anybody could ever do. Are we going to be 100%?
There's no guarantee for that.
No.
Will this put a cost burden on the person with whom we're contracting?
Not a bit. That's the other thing. The additional insured right now is an additional insured might be requested of somebody. If anything would cost somebody additional, it could be the additional insured clause. In some insurance companies will charge a contractor up to 10% of their premium to name you as an additional insured. Some will. Depends again the magnitude of the contractor. Of course, you got a $800,000 contractor.
Where is the line bar? We had someone hired to do lawns who then could not because that person did not have coverage. We couldn't employ them.
That's correct.
What jobs do we require that from?
Any contractor, anybody who doesn't get a normal paycheck from the village.
So then that does put quite a cost, because this person stopped doing this specific lawn because it was not worth the cost of the job. Very understandable.
Who's working?
It's too bad it was a local resident who was doing us a favor, doing that person a favor, but the cost of the insurance company.
So you're saying you're saying that this is green. this is in its infancy. This is just, I think it's something that we need to look into, and I think whatever correspondence or whatever you can send to the village.
I'll get up to you as soon as I can.
Right, you know, and let us look at it and see, because there again, you know.
When you read these indemnity agreements, I mean, I've looked at some that huge corporations signed off on, and you would be amazed at some of the wording they signed off on. They took all the liabilities back, and their council signed off on it. And I reading it with insurance companies, councils, independent contractors council, and we're reading it saying, I can't believe that this huge corporation just took all the liability back. That was the whole gist of it. Of course, everybody talks about meeting of the minds with contracts, and if there's no meeting of the minds, there's no real legal contract. Well, now you get into this whole case. Did this guy that's all he gets paid to do? Was he on the same page as this other real small contractor who had him sign this indemnity agreement? You know, you think he would have been. I mean, if he read it and that was what his job was, but you can't read into their minds. So it's going to be a big help to the village, and you're going to see it with the contractors. I mean, if you get tree trimmers out here, those are the type of people that you've got the even bigger thing. You're doing renovations to a building. You got subs out here working. They're working off a ladder, working off scaffolding. Here comes this is the big potential. I've seen people doing renovations, second-party subcontractors for a facility in Plattsburgh, renovating an old Air Force base, where they had hired a general, the general hired a sub, the sub's employee fell off the scaffolding, the property owner was held responsible for the guy's injuries because he was on a scaffolding.
And we as the board need to safeguard the village the best we can.
Yes, you do. And that's what I'll bring back to you to help you. And at least we've done that. Made everybody a little aware.
I would appreciate that very much.
No problem. Anything else anybody might have for me?
There is another issue that came up from the village attorney on. We are in the process of making arrangements with the town to assume routine maintenance of the water sewer districts within the town.
Okay.
And our attorney has asked us to make sure that a village employee injured while fulfilling the terms of this agreement is covered.
He's still an employee of the village?
Yes, doing the same kinds of jobs except in more locations.
That'll have no bearing on coverage, because it's still, as long as if he was a subcontractor doing that outside of then we'd have a question of no coverage under the employee-employer situation workers' comp law.
Even though he's off premises.
Even though he's off premises.
Okay.
That'd be like saying Bob sent one of the guys down to there's a Charlie Boys in Plattsburgh to pick up a piece of equipment. Well, halfway down the Northway, he got into an accident. That's a workers' comp situation. He's off premises. There's no restriction of premises. It's basically wherever their job might take them.
Right. Okay.
So that's a good question by the attorney, and that's the village has no concern there. You're covered anywhere.
Can we get a copy of the exclusions and the coverage on both, what's covered and what's not covered on the equipment and the addition on our policy?
That's actually already in possession of the village for this year. Yep. Yeah, that's the other thing. I've delivered the contracts for the year 2001. Last week I brought those up. Insurance cards are in Bob's hands. I think that part, if you ever want to take a look at it, Janice got a binder with all the coverages broken out by lines. If you want to look at the property section, you flip to the property, the general liability, the marine, the public officials liability. You just go and pull the tab, and you'll get right to the coverage sheet. And then if you want to look at any forms any closer, the forms will be underneath them. Follow. Okay. That was a lot longer than the fireman.
Yes, you were.
Does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Ledwell?
How long to look into this, the indemnity clauses that you would want to put into the contracts? How long would this take?
In the next 30 days, I should have something for you. I've actually got one carrier coming into my office tomorrow with some sample agreements, and from there I'll run pretty quick with them. the village attorney here is Mr. Keeble, is it?
Yeah.
So I'll run those by Mr. Keeble first, if it's okay with the village,
Right.
just to make sure that he's okay with them. Then I would bring back a final copy to the village board, have him sign off on them, so you'd know. Okay?
Thank you. Because our
Get that
our
beautiful-
per se contract season will be coming up.
You got it.
We've got some things that are gonna be
This is the time.
on the table, you know, for this summer, so it might be well worth it.
Within the next 30 days, I would hope no longer than the end of March to have you with some sort of sample wording where it could have been implemented in all your contracts.
Good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, camera lady.
See you again.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Yes, you too. Thanks.
See you tomorrow. And at this time, it looks like they reported the mayor. The mayor has just a short report. As you know, we've had the openings on our zoning and planning board. I, at this time, would like to appoint Todd Manning to the ZBA board. And I was wondering if I could get a second to that motion.
I'll move that. I
Do you
think-
move?
Yeah, I
Yeah. Okay, you'll
I think
move
one
on
of us
that?
has to make a motion.
Right.
Is that a mayor's appointment or?
No, it's board, but we have to just set a term. His term would be April, until April 5th of 2004.
Can the mayor make that motion?
Yeah.
Then I second.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I made the motion.
I didn't mean to.
And then it'll
You
be
got it.
till April 5th,
2000
April 4th?
April 5th, 2004.
Okay, 2004. So I made the motion. Second,
Yeah.
trustee Young, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. As in our correspondence, I think we'll see in our correspondence, item number 13. Fire contracts for the town of Champlain. Until we need to sign this fire protection contract, which will go in effect until, I believe, the 31st of December 2001. This will finish our term until the district puts their first budget and comes in January 2002. The terms of the contract is the same as it was last year. So the town is contracting at $55,000, which is two payments of $27,500. The agreement is the same, it's stated as it was last year. So I think what I'm asking is a motion from the board that I be able to sign this contract as mayor. Does anybody understand the fire contract? See, what we're doing this year is, and I believe in our budget hearings, we got to budget for 7/12 of our coverage through to January 1 of 2002. This ensures that the town will pay the village X number of dollars until the village liability is is taken over by the fire district.
When is that projected to be?
Well, I haven't been following them, but I know they're gonna have to set up a banking account. Then I think the lawyer has stated that they need to go out to a purisive referendum to bond to pay off the fire department debt. And at that time, everything will be turned over to the fire district. So what monies is left in the accounts and what is budgeted for the fire protection will then be turned over to the fire district, along with said equipment and building and whatever. But we need to put this fire,
Until then, the town is going to pay the village, and the village is gonna pass the money on to the fire district. So
Right.
the fire district will get the same revenue that it had always.
and that it will, it's gonna just take up, it's gonna pick up where we leave off. But we still need to do this because we haven't been paid our debt yet. So this may take them some time to do this. So we need to put this in effect to cover our cost of operating the fire department as per se they cost right now.
I move we approve you to sign that.
Motion made by trustee Young,
Second.
second trustee Short, for me to sign the fire contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. And as spring is coming around, and we know that we have a plan in works for some of the restoration of the down street buildings. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for a chairperson to chair this that will probably be working closely with Superintendent Sullivan. So I think what I'm doing is I'm looking for somebody to volunteer to do that. If I don't get a volunteer, I will probably appoint someone. I don't know if we can do that. Doesn't it state in there that we should have a chairperson? It should be probably somebody from the village board. I feel good about that. We should do that. I think we need somebody that'll work at it. And, I haven't heard anybody volunteer yet. That's the thing.
You're looking in the wrong direction.
So,
When's the deadline?
do we?
When do we get someone?
Well, I'm thinking you're probably left out of the picture.
Well, that's what I'm thinking also.
Right.
You have to perhaps give some others a deadline by which you pull names out of a hat.
You know,
And that's that.
Well,
I think that would be my recommendation.
what was that? I remember reading it, but what was the thing? It was more or less to meet with the property owners and what have you, and set up,
Just go out to bid, they get the contractors to do the work,
right.
meet with the property owners. get
Code
permission,
schemes.
whatever plans.
So, and I mean, this is gonna have to take place, but this work ain't gonna be done for a few months yet anyways.
It should be done soon.
So, I was just wondering if our newest board member would mind tackling it. Would mind tackling something like that.
suppose I could.
You suppose you could?
Yeah.
Well, the thing of it is, I think we need somebody to chair, and I think, you know, you need to talk with Janice and Bob and get the gist of it all. And, you know, just set it up. I would appreciate that you would chair this, since you're the new person.
Get both feet wet at the same time.
Congratulations.
Am I mean? And I think that's all we need to do. I don't think there has to be anything else. So, we have a chairperson for that, by the way, Mrs. Hill.
Thank you.
Okay? And this individual will be in touch with you and Janice to make sure that we work things out. I don't know if I want to go on tonight.
Be throwing rocks at your house.
Thank you very much, Trustee McGoldy. Something was brought to my attention this past week, and as there's coffee on it. Mr. Lattimore was talking about our phosphorus building. And if anybody wants to see what our phosphorus building looks like, it made it in the paper. This is the construction.
Case in the basin,
Yeah,
Lake Champlain.
and that was stated for Champlain wastewater treatment. It's nice that we get recognized for some of the things we do, and it's nice to put us in the paper.
For a good thing.
I think that's about it, because I believe that you're going to be taking care of the one last thing that I wanted to work on. You'll be doing that. I think that's, we should do this resolution. Should we or should we not? Yeah, we should do this resolution. Because as you see in correspondence number 5, if the resolution is passed, I myself am going to be busy again this week. This resolution should have come in your mailbox today.
Looks like this.
Yeah, I
You know,
know that, I saw it today.
you're like me. We don't have enough paperwork is what's the matter.
Let's do this.
So in other words, on our buyout of River Street and the Gooley property, should I read this resolution? No, I'm going to read it. I'm just not going to read all the properties. Okay. Moved by Mayor Laporte and Trustee Young. Whereas the transfer of county flood buyout parcels located at 125 Church Street, the remainder of them on River Street, one property on Elm Street, to the Village of Champlain is in the best interest of the village for purpose of assisting in the management and development of our village. Therefore, be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees agrees to accept title to the 18 properties currently owned by the County of Clinton, and be it further resolved that the Village Board of Trustees also agree to provide the County of Clinton with a conservation easement over the aforementioned properties in conformance with requirements of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and be it further resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby authorize the mayor of the Village of Champlain to execute any documents necessary to, my English isn't very good, effectuate the transfer of these properties. Seconded by trustees McCaldy and Short. Do we need a vote on this?
All in favor, carried.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's carried. Thank you very much. So that means this Thursday afternoon, we will be taking care of number 5 on our correspondence. And I believe that's all I have for this evening. Thank you. Report? Trustee Short.
So the only question I'm gonna ask Bob is have we had any tree damage from the last windstorm?
I was amazed, I didn't see anything.
Yeah. Streets look pretty good, but I didn't see anything major.
You mentioned in your window, was the damage to the St. Mary's sign wind damage or vandalism?
I did not see it.
The whole sign is out, you know, the
Oh,
sign up
yeah.
on the hill? Yeah, it's
Probably
all out.
wind. Most likely. I don't think.
It's
I
like-
hadn't heard
when you mentioned wind, it's
usually-
stuck in my
That's what I was
mind.
thinking.
Usually
Is
that,
there any damage?
I didn't see that, but I mean, I was looking more, I'm not really looking at houses or up in the yards and stuff at that point. Just kind of looking at the streets.
And I want to commend the boys for a good job that they've done going around the village, knocking down, and myself, the banks that were really extremely high, you know, for the people backing out of the driveway.
Well, we can't do every driveway, but we
No, but-
definitely did the ends of the streets and places like that, try to make them.
Some of them were pretty good dangers, and mine myself was extremely high.
Yeah, kind of an old-fashioned winter.
Yeah. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee McCaldy.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you very much. Trustee Young.
Yeah. Guess I have two items. Number one, it was tabled from the last meeting, the town water bill issue. Is that the one you were referring to, Mr. Mayor?
Right.
Wait.
Right.
That's one, I guess I'll have to pass it back to you to get the resolution or the solution.
What had happened is, we tabled it, so we could have a meeting, and it was decided that myself and trustee McCauley were gonna go to this. As everybody saw in their original request, they were looking for 1 year's credit on a water leak, on a main water leak that they'd had in one of their districts. Well, trustee McCully and myself went there, and our policy, I read a part of our policy, and what ended up happening was we went back 4 months. We were verbally told, and I was going by Superintendent Sullivan's notes, that on the 6th of September, Mr. Castine had let Bob know that there was some water leaking considerably. So when we went to the meeting, I went, and it was more or less setting up that I didn't feel that the village could go back any further than the 6th of September. So out of that meeting, we ended up reimbursing for 143,000 gallons at our price, which ended up being $1,415.70 credit on their next billing.
And that was from sewer.
And that was from sewer, just sewer.
Now, is that 4 months?
That's 4 months. That's, you all had your copy of this last month,
Okay.
table for view of billing, and that's what Trustee Young is stating. So we went to this meeting, and we could go back. I felt it was in our best interest just to go back to where we were notified. And that, as it is, was considerably less than what they wanted. And, and I couldn't in all just go back any further than that.
But that was a concern that I had when I raised the issue
Right.
on that, because it establishes precedent that we have to treat customers equally.
Right.
And that's where the policy falls in place.
Right.
Well, this is what I said, we have a policy written in, and I went back, and notification was a must. And I couldn't really find anything else, and Superintendent Sullivan was very helpful with his notes and stuff, so. That gave me a determination that Francis and I, where we could go, and that's where we went.
This seems like an excellent solution.
Well, thank you very much, I thought we did well.
I think we need a motion for that to change the billings.
Yes, we do.
What was it, 14, 15, 17?
Yeah, 14, 15, 70.
I move we credit the town 14, 15, 17 on the next billing for sewage usage that was billed but not used. So that's in essence,
Correct.
it's
Okay.
143,000 gallons that
Right.
was not, they were charged for, but did not use.
Okay, do we get a second to that?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's $1,415.70.
70?
Zero.
Okay.
And 70 cents.
70.
Thank you.
Guess what's still in my, the other thing, I guess I'd like to ask for an executive session toward the end of the meeting to discuss the water sewer contracts with the town, with the idea of resolving any differences and then acting on that after executive session. So we'll have to come back into session afterwards.
All right. Thank you.
And that's
Thank you, Trustee. Report of clerk treasurer?
The only thing I have this evening is my monthly report of revenues and expenditures for the month of January and January 31st, 2001. Anyone has any questions, feel free to give me a call. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Before we go on to report of our superintendent, did everybody get a copy of this? I mean to not go out of order, but I just noticed it before. It's from the beautification committee?
I think it just came in today.
Right, I think it's a requisition. Apparently, at this time of the year, there's a reduced cost for these decorations, their Christmas decorations. From what it says in the balance account, there's enough to pay for this.
What else between now and the end of May is that $1,500 for? Well, now it's $1,500.
The flowers, expenses, period planters.
Right.
There's no sign, additional village sign that we,
That is planned.
then this seems like a pretty good expenditure.
Right, that's what I thought for the price of them, yeah.
As long as there isn't something coming down the pike in 8 May.
Because I thought
It's gonna be
all it was
$1,000,
like the upkeep of the flower boxes and the flowers, and I'm sure the remainder
Okay.
of the fund will come out of that.
One of the things that goes along with this will have to be boxes, electrical connection boxes, circuit breaker boxes. They have to be bought. They'll be about $100 a pop, give or take. They have to go up on the poles.
Oh, well, that's gonna put this out of reach.
That could be done on next year's budget.
It can be done on next year's budget, if it's not gonna.
Okay,
I just
yeah,
want you
because
to
I'm
be
saying
aware.
we don't need to have that now. But at this cost for these decorations, I think we'd be crazy not to.
I think we buy two, you get one free, so it's a really good deal.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
I
deal.
always buy them now.
Okay, that's why they don't know.
The
So,
boxes you're talking about, we wouldn't need these until Thanksgiving.
that's right.
Right.
And that would be
Right.
on next year's budget. Okay.
Yeah, we'd make the boxes up sometime over the summer, hopefully, a rainy day.
Okay, then. Do I get a motion on this purchase rec for the beautification committee?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Young, second trustee Short. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. I just saw that, and I want to, I'm sorry, Mr. Superintendent. But you know how things can be just gone through it.
Just want you to be aware
Okay,
that that's, gonna be an expenditure that
Right.
does come down the pike.
right.
You have my written report?
Oh, goodness, what?
Do you have any questions on it?
I read your recommendations, TV, the South Street sewer line. Is that something on here? Is that still?
I think it is.
In the
That's
works.
something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
I saw that in something.
Right
somewhere.
here, the third from the last.
Okay, well, that's,
Right.
okay, I was just picking up on crew activities.
Yeah.
Right.
Has that been pretty cleared out for last week, any problems?
Yeah, it's not a problem at the moment. I really think what we're gonna find, it could be a break, but I think what we have is a major league sag. We've got a couple of broken sewer laterals, and what happens is dirt comes down those sewer laterals, ends up in the sag just fills up and becomes solid and reduces the capacity of the pipe until such time as it just plugs off. It really was, this was a tough one, and I did see a lot of dirt come down the line while we were sewer jetting.
I know, Mr. Sol and myself have been talking about this. I was out there that night a little bit. Yeah, he was talking about it, and I think that's where we need to go. So any other comments or questions?
So we thought about doing another dip.
Sewer jetting up by Hicks anytime soon?
When it gets a little warm.
Before?
Hopefully we don't.
You know we're gonna have a problem there unless
Well,
we
we
get back there
did,
soon.
we went up there, I'm trying to remember when. We went up there this fall sometime.
So I see you have a requisition here for
Yes, I do.
spare drive tires for 1992 International.
That's correct.
Can I get a motion to approve this purchase requisition for one spare drive tire, $275?
I make a motion.
Motion trustee McCauley,
I'll second that.
second trustee Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Here,
Account is
thank you.
getting, that account is getting way down there.
Yes, it is, it's hurt. We do have a couple of expenditures in one of those that need to be made up with some fund balances. Because I think we planned, that's the one that that's 51.2, right? Four, I'm thinking out of four.
One four.
Yeah.
There's two needs as well. Try to keep from spending too much. Do you want to do anything on the buyout situation? Do you wish to discuss that at this point, or
Oh,
just kind of update it, or?
yeah, I would like to let you update it.
Okay. I've been talking with Rodney Brown in the county, and I see him right now, so I'll have to go out of my mind. We've had some misunderstandings between the state on understanding exactly what we're trying to accomplish with the Spiegel property, having it be the matching funds. They are not, they seem to think we're pulling some kind of a fast one on them. That, you know, all funds are going to be contributed by the federal government. Nothing is coming from the village. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Mr. Spiegel donated that property so that it would be used for that particular purpose. Having said that, I sent him a copy of the letter I sent Rodney, who in turn supposedly sent that down to Mr. Anderson, along with this fax that you've all been copied with today. I haven't had a chance to really read this fax. But it seems as though, as of Friday, Mr. Anderson was more of the mind that he understood where we were coming from and could probably, for lack of a better word, sell the idea to FEMA so that they would go ahead with it. So that's about where we stand. We're still in a holding pattern. We have picked out an assessor, or not an assessor, appraiser,
Yeah.
to appraise the property, the properties that are left, and we have the letters ready to send out to the landowners, but we can't do a blessed thing until we know that FEMA is going to back it up. And that's where we stand now. If in fact we get the letter, and we get some kind of an approval, and we get back on the clock again, somehow or other we need to have Albert or somebody with permission to sign whatever needs to be signed. We sent the letters, the contracts, everything is in place to go, and it's just sort of
Right.
sitting there.
So what Superintendent Sullivan is saying is, everything is on hold right now. He was saying, you know, there's been a miscommunications, and that's just about what it has been. But he clarified to me, because I've been on the phone with Rodney Brown myself, and I spoke to him on several occasions. We can't do anything right now. Our timetable, as it was specified in that, will change in our application, and then our acceptance, that will change, that has to change. But like he's saying, we can't do anything until we get the final approval, because like I said, there has been a miscommunications. And what Bob is saying is, if we do, and it happens to be between meetings, I think he's looking to say, if we get the approval, would the board like to make a motion that if it does pass, that I can do the necessary paperwork that needs to expedite it as far as appraisal and what needs to be done. So at this time, and we don't know what's going to happen, but we would figure that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen before our next board meeting.
Certainly
I
hope
think
it
it'd be a
happens.
good idea to give you the, well, I think we're all in support of this. So
We're all in
give you
support of the buyout, right.
Power, I'll move to give you the power to sign anything that needs to be signed to keep the process going.
Okay, then. Motion made by trustee Young,
I'll second.
second by trustee McEldy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. I think everything else, we probably could have handled that under old business too.
I had one person approach me in the store about this situation about the buyout. I said, well, we talked about it for the last couple meetings. We don't see anybody have any feedback about what we talked about at our meetings and about the buyout situation and what they feel of what's going on downtown. And, well, I heard, well, we don't approve of it. I said, if you don't approve of it, come to a meeting and voice your opinion.
Exactly.
You know, that's my answer to it. I said, nobody's telling us what
Write
I
a
think.
letter.
You can write a letter, and if you don't want to be in front of a camera, you know, just view your points to one of the people in the office.
It really needs to be in the form of a letter or
Yeah.
a person in front of the board.
Right.
So that, especially, it should be in writing so that there are no misunderstandings about what
Right.
the person's trying to say.
Right.
We'll write
It would be
form
nice,
if we
but
want
just
them to.
any time to
Yeah.
let
Let us know how they
me know.
feel.
I'm in the phone book, if somebody wants to let me know how they feel, that's fine. But I guess what I would say is, well, what's the alternative?
And-
Okay, I know what you don't want, what do you want?
What would you do with this property?
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's the dilemma we have.
That's right.
There are other things that I guess I would like to see with the downtown, but I don't see, there's no viable alternative from my point of view to what's happening. It may not be the best, but I think it is the best thing that we'll be able to do with that area.
Right.
It'd be wonderful if you could excite somebody into doing something with those properties, but who in heck's gonna do anything with those properties with water running over them every year?
Right.
You can't encourage anybody to even maintain them.
But I just wanted to bring up something that was brought up to me,
Yeah.
you know, on this particular topic.
I wish they would make their feelings felt
Yeah.
in public.
Is that it, Superintendent?
I think that's about it. What else did I have? Everything else I think we can pretty much do in the correspondence or in the whole business.
Any other questions for Superintendent? Okay, we'll go on to correspondence, Mr. Nelson.
Item 1 is correspondence and audit report for May 1998 with Keystone CPA. This was done because of our capital sewer project. We needed to have an audit done, the complete audit of the village books and the capital project. And he found everything in order. So we also have, for the record, an auditor from the state of New York here. He's been here about a month. Auditing our books also, so we should have that report soon. Item 2 is correspondence with data from FEMA relative to the base flood elevations.
I have something to say on that.
That's supposed to be, we're supposed to have by what, July?
Yes.
Are we supposed to have something on July?
And that's what I spoke with Rodney Brown as well as Fred Dunlap from DEC, to make sure that we have the proper words in our law that, and just where they are supposed to go, so you can adopt that in the proper time.
Right. Okay. I remember reading that. Thank you, Bob.
Item 3 is correspondence from the Department of State relative to state financial aid assistance for the Codes Enforcement Officer Training Program.
I go to school every year. I belong to an association, that Northern Adirondack Code Enforcement Association. A couple of times I have picked up the tab of that association myself. You have paid for the schools, The other thing that you might want to plan for is the disc for the NFPA's, which I do not have. And I requested them last year, and we didn't pass it through, didn't make it on the budget, as I recall.
Looks like they're
But this
offering
will-
to pay
they're
for
offering
some
to
of
pay
our
for
costs,
it.
so,
Right.
you know,
Right.
whatever we can accumulate, and if there's something we haven't because we haven't been able to afford it, why not now?
That's why I'm bringing this up.
Sure.
Right.
That's,
As I said,
if I understood this, that's what it
State aid
was.
voucher, yeah.
The governor has set aside this money. I think this is a sensitivity. They realize that some of these things cost us money, and these unfunded mandates. And I look at this as a way to kind of offset some costs that are our burden. So
Sure.
let's make sure if we fit any of these costs, we apply for them.
Right.
And that's-
Will
You
you
have
have
a
the
better-
form of motion?
Well, of course.
Of course.
If you need a motion for that,
Just in
yes.
case I have,
Right.
you're gonna spend $560 on the NFPA's.
Yeah.
That's what they are, as I recall, I have it here someplace. And I would like to really have that. I can put that on the computer on my desk, on desk,
What's the motion? To purchase it?
to purchase the NFPA's.
What's it? If it is funded through the governor's fund,
If
that's,
it's
Oh,
funded
if it's
through here.
funded.
Yeah.
We need to give Bob the permission to see if it would be funded through here. And he made that in the form of a motion. Right?
yeah, I would like to apply for
Whatever.
the reimbursement of anything.
If it
We
could be
can accumulate
reimbursed.
up to the maximum, and this is for the next 2 months, I think, April,
Right,
beginning. Well, it ends March 31st.
right.
So,
We've got
you
to
gotta
get
hustle.
this in.
That's right, that's why
In the
I'm
next
asking
month
for
and a
that.
half.
Right. So Doug has made a motion. Do I get a second to that motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Seconded.
Don't the expenses already have been
Up until incurred from,
2 months? So you're going to buy it and then submit it?
yeah,
Is that?
that's why I have to
Well,
get on
yeah,
my,
other
on the
than,
horse.
if there's anything, make sure that it's eligible.
Yeah, that is, that,
I don't want to,
according to the letter, the way it's written, it says, purchase of the computers and/or software used for enforcement of the uniform code.
Right.
And the reason why it says that is the NFPA's are part of the uniform code.
Right. But I see even like
Your
your last year's courses, if it fit within this time frame, travel expenses, lodging, college registration fees, that could all be put on here as well.
We will.
You will.
Item 4 are tool appraisals on the downtown buyout property. Lisa, what you said, we had decided we were to hire. should we-
No, these, the two appraisals are the ones that came from Mr. Spiegel.
is this Border Appraisal Service in Morrison and Miller?
Oh, I see.
Morrison and Miller, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've got
Oh, okay, that
Ken
was-
Coleman and Company, but
Yeah.
this is,
But they should be in the minutes as the village you make a motion as to who they were hired,
Okay.
not
Okay. And I think we had the one there's no, there should be three of them.
Yeah, I-
Morrison and Miller, Ken Coleman,
Yeah.
and the Board of Appraisal Service.
And border appraisal, I think border appraisal came in.
January 18th,
Right,
January
right.
19th. The other one was faxed to us the 18th.
Yeah, see, I don't think there's any comparison. It'd be Ken. Yeah.
No, I think it's Morrison and Miller.
Where am I looking at? Thought, I don't know why I'm. Well, I have both Morrison, we don't have it here. Morrison and Miller is way cheaper than these.
Right.
They all do cover the same properties.
Yes. That's not good. I don't know why. One of these is duplicate of the other.
That's one for Morrison and Miller.
3,000.
Yeah.
3,000.
Right.
That's for,
The appraisal, yeah.
Border was 48, and
now is that
Coleman was 4,000.
5 properties or all 7?
We're gonna be doing 5.
Okay.
Right.
So the Ken Coleman is the same price then?
Okay,
for
yeah,
5.
on that second paragraph, yeah.
The 4,000 is for 7 properties.
Yeah. Are the properties
I think if-
of Morrison and Miller and Coleman the same?
There was a reason why I went to Morrison and Miller, and I don't remember what it was. Would you share your copy?
Sure.
Just that one, just the,
I'm not sure which that one was, so you got
okay. The reason why I said that.
Is it
That's why.
time to complete?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
That's
see
what
that
it
now,
is.
30 to 45 days.
Yeah, everybody else was, but I knew there was a reason, and I couldn't remember what it was.
Right.
And it is the time frame.
All right.
He gives us a much shorter time frame, which might work out better to our,
Advantage. Right.
for the same money.
That's why that, I think that's why that was done.
How, well,
So we'll need a motion. for
So we need a
items
motion to
7.
go with Morrison and Miller.
So moved.
Motion trustee Young, second.
Second?
Second trustee
Now,
Licone.
this is after the approval of FEMA?
Oh, yeah, this will not
oh,
move.
nothing happens till.
Nothing moves, but why we made that motion to have me, if anything does come out of this, that I can sign this and
Just
that way
wanted
we
to
go.
understand.
Right.
Right. So, all in favor?
I
Aye.
Doug will let you have this.
You, it's got my
I do.
number 4 up the top. If you need one, you can.
Okay, the motion is carried for Morrison and Miller.
Thank you.
Motion Young, second McCollum.
Item 5 is correspondence and resolution from the county to allow the mayor to execute the closing documents for registry buyout, which
We've
they've
already done
done.
that.
Covered.
Yeah.
And there's also a letter from Attorney Tapper relative to that. Item 6 is notice of natural gas meeting in Malone, February 13th at 7 p.m.
That's tomorrow.
Right.
I did get a phone call from them asking us to show up there. They want to know how to be funded. Evidently, they're looking at funding the utilities to come into their area. Oh, well,
Yeah. Oh, well.
okay.
Item 7 is an update from our country chamber regarding the Port of Excellence. Item 8 is correspondence to New York State DOT regarding the frozen water line at the Route 9. There's also a response from the New York State DOT.
Yeah.
Is their response practicable?
Yes, it is.
We will not go the road.
So to tap into that 8-inch water line, and
But I have to cut across the front of 2 properties to do it. And we cannot go down the sidewalk between the sidewalk and the curb because there's a gas main there. So we would have
so
to
you have
cut
to
on
go
the
on
inside
the
of
property
the property.
side.
Right. And that means we really, I think we're out of the right of way. You're talking easement time. But yes, it can be done.
Because I know we tried to lateral bore across there with 2 different places.
Yeah.
It was just a boneyard. The other things that they did ask, I mean, are really, we went round and round on the phone. I get along with Tom quite well. I mean, you know, he's just watching out for his own,
Right.
you know, and it really is not the greatest thing in the world to turn around and cut this road up.
No, oh, it isn't.
I don't want people cutting any of mine up if I can avoid it.
Right.
I mind, you know.
Right.
Well, they're yours. You take care of them.
What would be the rental of some of this equipment, the digging equipment that could dig a nice, tiny little 4-inch trench? They have some of these.
We do. We can do not a 4-inch. but
Well, I
we
know,
can
I
definitely
know,
do a 12-inch.
Instead of going with a big backhoe and tearing up lawns,
We can
went
definitely.
in and did a nice line. It would be disruptive to the property owners, but not as bad as it.
We can do
might
that.
be.
We can get the depth with the Bobcat. We definitely can get the depth and we can get the narrowness that we want to get with that. It's a little slower, but it will not make as
It
much of a
does seem the
mess.
problem that the resident has. We're trying to solve something we should solve.
I agree.
I mean, it's, and I guess going across 2 properties is better than digging up
Yeah.
Main Street.
We really, the idea of trying to
That's-
bore across
As
with
long
a
as
nice
you're not one of the
start.
property owners having the lawn dug up. I mean, that's the thing.
Well, both properties are at this moment vacant.
Right.
Not to say that somebody doesn't own them, but just that they are vacant.
How far do we have to bury that water line?
It should be all of 5 feet, 6 would be preferable.
We will be crossing water lines going to the 2 properties
Yes, we
that
will.
we're crossing.
Yes, we will. That's where we usually end up in trouble.
That seems like it's making a mess out of our delivery system. Keep, if you do that, keep excellent records. Because 10 years down the road, somebody's going to be digging
Yeah.
that up, and what the heck is this?
I'm also looking,
And we've had that problem, it
Right.
seems to me, when we've dug in places where there haven't
You're
been
right.
records.
You're
Where
right.
people don't know what's there.
yeah, why was this done? There is a computer program I'm kind of looking at that a company has asked us to look at and volunteer to try it. And it's a mapping system. I would like to give that a shot, see if it's anything that's workable for us. It's no obligation on our part, unless we want to buy it.
Something that you could continually update the piping layout of the
That's correct.
village.
Yeah. And the history of it, all in the computer program. Would be much easier to call up. I really want to see if I can get the precise layouts for each curb stop and its exact location in relationship to the house, the buildings. So that brought that to mind.
Let's continue our correspondence.
Okay. Number 9 is correspondence from Time Warner regarding the merger with AOL. 10 is notice of available funds for the 2001 Community Development Block Grant from Governor Pataki. 11 is correspondence requesting a change in the cadmium limit in the wide Eric Batchstone user contract.
I don't have a problem with this.
You don't have a problem, because I want to,
Because the limits are low enough and the amounts that we receive are low enough to, in this case, dilution is a solution to pollution. It is not always that, but in this case it is.
okay.
And I think they'll solve the problem of the cab being anyway.
Okay. You need a motion to do that? Or can we
I
just
think,
go on?
well, yeah, we're gonna sign a contract with them.
Right.
We sign it.
So do we need to make a motion to?
Well, I move we then amend the cadmium limits to meet their needs, you know, in the next contract or in the contract.
That is going for 25 milligrams a kilo to 39, right? So everybody understand that? We're gonna raise them.
it'll still be under the limits by Part 350, even though New York State has a more stringent thing, you know. They're still not going to affect us.
So motion is made by trustee Young, second.
I second.
Second, trustee McCollum, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's carried.
Matter of fact, I even have a thing here from Steve recommending it.
Okay.
Item 12 is notice of assessed value changes from assessor there.
Take a big hit. Yeah, that's,
Item 13 is fire contract with design and address. 14 is a notice of worksite recruitment 2001 summer job programs in the Clinton County Employment and Training Administration.
Already restored this.
Okay, I already responded, thank you.
3,
Thank you.
and we'll forget them, but
Yeah.
And 15 is the county legislative meetings for February 2001 from county administrator building. And that's it for correspondence.
Thank you. Old business. Town water and sewer contract. This contract, we're gonna be going into executive session to talk about it. Board vacancies. We had one missing on the zoning and one missing on the planning. Our zoning has been filled. If anyone out there would like to be on the planning committee, would you please get hold of the village office, please? Thank you. We've had our Main Street buyout. Superintendent Sullivan's told us where we are. And number 4, Main Street beautification project. We have been very fortunate to have trustee Mercaldi this. And I only want to thank you again.
Well, you're welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I'm not going home tonight. Number 5 is town water leak, and as we've already addressed that this evening. And we have our sludge management contract. Mr. Sullivan.
well, I gave you a little letter, or memo, laid it all out. It's another one of those things that I don't think we really need to think much about. If you
No,
allow me to,
by the figures,
if you allow me to sign a contract, or if you want to sign a contract with
I think it's
GSI.
GSI, yeah. Has everybody had that correspondence in front of them?
It was 1/8, January 8th.
See, this is the one we're talking about.
Goes back to the last.
Remember we went through that? Remember that was picking up our sludge and I think.
You want to borrow mine?
We talked all about it. Yeah, I'll just show you what it looks like. This is the correspondence right here that we had. Now, and from what I can gather, Attorney Keeble has no problem with this.
No. Pretty straightforward stuff. I mean, I can run that by him again.
Yeah, what I think
They're a lot more open in their,
in their contract than the other people, yes.
yeah.
I read that. Did you find it?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, I think I went through it. They seem to be more lenient all the way around.
Mhm.
We do have one, it's a 3-year deal, but if they increased rates, we can terminate.
That's,
Has to be agreeable to both parties.
yeah.
They'll let us know of a rate increase, and then we have a window
Right.
whether
Right.
to accept or reject it.
Any changes.
Actually, the way it's worded, we refuse to pay the increase and they terminate the contract.
Right, there you go.
We have not-
That's the way it's
Right.
worded.
By the way, I have spoken with the other people involved. First of all, we're not gonna get rid of Franklin County. I mean, they're there. We can dispose there anytime we really need to. Yeah, we're not burning any bridges behind us. I explained it to you.
This is, this is where we will dispose of all sludge though, right, once we sign the contract.
Right.
We don't have the option of going anywhere else.
If we terminate the
Oh, yeah,
contract
yeah.
with them. I haven't,
That's part of the deal though, right?
That's-
That they get everything.
yeah.
Right.
When does it begin?
Whatever we say.
Whenever we sign it.
We don't have to have an answer until, let's see, when will it start to thaw? When it's thawed enough so that I can start moving sludge.
Okay, but what I.
Actually, I'm really over on this year's budget. I've used more money to dispose of sludge than I perhaps should have. And I don't have much choice on that. So we probably wouldn't be looking to dispose of sludge until after June 1st. But I would like to make sure that we have all our ducks in
Yeah,
a row.
this is what I'm getting at. I think the sooner that we do this
That's
and
the
put it
way
in
to do it.
place, it may get lost in the shuffle.
I don't. If we could get it to coincide with our budget year, it might be nice to have the contract coming due when we're dealing with budget, or when we'll know about their rate increase, so we know what to do.
Well, I mean, that's easy enough to do. I can have them date a contract for the 1st of June.
If that's what we want.
I think I don't think we're gonna be ready to ship before then.
Right.
I mean, this stuff has to thaw. These things stick together, and I mean, it's ungodly what you've got to do to get it apart.
We don't even wanna go there.
No, we don't.
Dennis, you don't want a description.
No, don't wanna know.
So do we wanna act on it this month, is what I'm saying? It's February. Or do we wanna, we can act on it and have it in place for the 1st of June?
Yeah.
That would be our,
I'm trying to clean up all the loose ends so that when we have to concentrate on summer work, I don't have to go off on a tangent over here to do something else. That's basically what I'm looking to do, is be able to concentrate my efforts later on.
I guess we could sign it anytime the contract commences June 1, if that's.
right, I can't foresee a
As long as
problem with that.
everything's in place.
Yeah, because, you know, it will not be anything until June 1. I don't have a problem. Do you see a problem with it?
No, just need a motion to approval for you to sign it effective June 1st.
Do we have a motion in that effect to sign this sludge management removal, starting June 1st? Motion, trustee Short. Do we get a second?
Yeah, I'll second that, but this is for GSI,
Right.
and I think
It's on
I'm
the
looking
back.
at
I think we
Sawyer.
are. Looking back,
Right, way in the back.
very back.
Okay,
It's right in the back sheet, I
That's
think.
It is only, it's one page.
okay, so I was looking at that, so,
Right.
okay.
Right in the back page.
Not much to it.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, seconded by trustee Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Now we need to do the new business,
Well,
or do we go into?
one thing I'd like
Oh,
to
okay.
mention in old business before you close off,
Okay.
probably should have come up in Bob's report. You sent, no, it's something that I should have raised and your report. In the FYI, the Filion Lane pump station
Yes.
that you sent plans out to DOH, will we get that back anytime soon? Or have they come back?
When I was talking to Joe Gasso, his wife was working on it that day. When did I think I talked to him Thursday last week. So we should have it anytime. We'll have it in time to,
Okay. It would be nice to get going on that as soon as we can get
that
into
would be the
ground.
first order of business on the summer's work. And I think we can do that a little sooner than we can some of the other things that need to be done.
But if it's this fiscal year, it would have to be done before the end of May.
That's right.
So, I mean,
It's gonna push me hard.
wouldn't want to think summer.
No. First order of business, I'm thinking April.
Well, then that's fine.
That's what I like.
You know, as soon as we can get into the ground, but we do have to have those plans approved and.
Most of that ground that we're gonna be dealing with perhaps won't be as frozen as other places. I sent a hammer out today because it's failed a couple of times on us. And I want to find out what ails it, so.
Has that resident signed off on the hookups within 6 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got correspondence on that, I believe.
Yeah, about a month or two ago.
Right. You got correspondence on that.
We're all set with them.
Right.
So
Yes,
we're
we
all
are.
set to go once DOH gives us.
DOH gets with us, yeah. Okay, that's it?
Yes, that's.
Thank you, yeah. New business.
Tops will be in town too.
They've applied for a permit, building permit for a sign.
Did they? For a sign?
I've sent, well, they haven't applied, they asked for the application.
So
Do they
now
have a
this
date,
is
do they have a
where
date when it was gonna be done?
we don't want to do a warrant. This is where we can go to an executive session.
If there's no other new business, I move for an executive session to discuss the water sewer contracts with the town, with the idea that after we close executive session, we'll vote yes or no on the contracts.
So that's all we need?
I second.
So